Hi everyone! So this week is OCI week, and naturally I decided to make a video to explain a bit more about the process, the setting, what interview questions you should expect, and guide you through how to answer those. Until recently, OCIs took place in person. This year they're taking place virtually, so there are a few points that you should take into consideration that are unique to this setting. So OCIs are 17-minute interviews with prospective employers. Unless your schedule is spread out, you may have a 3-minute gap between interviews, so the day can be quite hectic. So prior to the interview, you should have received the names of the interview committee that may include partners, associates, or student directors. So what you should expect at the day of. Naturally, you will do your homework and research about your interviewers. In other circumstances, I wouldn't advise you to go crazy on researching the interviewers, but because this is COVID and because everyone is experiencing Zoom fatigue, and because your employers or you may run out of questions, it's a good idea to do a thorough research into who your interviewers are and what their interests are, not only law related, but if you can find information on a personal level with respect to hobbies or general interests, that's even better. So what to expect at the day of. These are virtual interviews, so you will have received a link to join the meeting. It goes without saying that you shouldn't be late. And if you experience technical issues, you should email them right away. Because the interview will take place from the comfort of your home, that does not mean that this relaxed setting is an excuse for you not to be professional. Even if all your interviewers are in their PJs, you're still wearing a suit, or at least give the impression that you're wearing a suit. Of course, the less formal setting can help you relax and establish a connection that you would not otherwise have the opportunity to do in an in-person interview, or at least it can make up for the virtual setting that undeniably can lead to reduced engagement. In terms of setting, it goes without saying that you should be in a quiet environment and have tested your audio and camera in advance. Once you join the meeting, probably one of the interviewers will introduce themselves and introduce you to the other interviewers, and then they will start asking you questions. Because the OCI is a 17-minute interview, it resembles a speed dating. So what would you tell someone that you want to impress within 17 minutes? That is why it is essential that you've done a lot of preparation, especially with respect to questions that you expect to receive. So what are those questions? The most common question is, tell us a bit more about yourself. Well, this is an invitation for you to share your elevator pitch, and that is not the time for you to come up with it. What does that mean? You have 2 to 3 minutes to summarize the key points of your resume and perhaps even share something that is not included there. You need to capture their attention in these 2 to 3 minutes. So how do you do that? What would you answer to the question, who are you? A lot of foreign trained lawyers start by responding, I am a foreign trained lawyer. Can you come up with something more interesting than that? Foreign trained lawyers will participate in OCIs on the same day, which means that every other candidate that the firm is interviewing will probably start their answer using the same expression. So try to be unique. Of course, you will include key highlights of your education and your legal career. The elevator pitch can become quite boring if you're just listing things that they already know about you. Instead, try to take this opportunity to speak about your values. Try to tie everything that you have included in your resume to who you are, to your personality, and to your interests. As we've already mentioned, the cover letter should be a story. So does your elevator pitch. It should be a story that flows, that you have shared so many times that it's brainless. The OCI interview is not the place for you to struggle to find the words to express what you want to convey. And again, you don't have to anticipate and answer all their questions in your elevator pitch. This is just for you to make them interested in wanting to hear more about you. After you complete your elevator pitch, interviewers can ask you to elaborate on any of the things you mentioned, either during your introduction or in your application package. So what can they ask you? That is why it is important that you have come up with interesting stories about each line included in your cover letter and resume. Starting with your education, if your interviewers are not familiar, if you come from a common law or civil law jurisdiction, they may ask you to elaborate on your home country's legal system. If you come from a common law jurisdiction, it will be easier for you to stress the similarities between your home country and the Canadian legal system. But even for candidates who come from civil law jurisdictions, this is not an invitation to explain all the differences that you can find. Employers need to know that what you learn back home, either during law school or during your professional career, is applicable in Canada, and especially with respect to what the firm does. Be prepared to explain your education system and the requirements to be called to the bar in your home country. If you've worked before you moved to Canada, this is a great opportunity for you to describe how your previous legal career can be applicable to the firm that you're interviewing with. You can describe the nature of the matters that you worked on, the level of involvement, for example, if you led the matter, the nature of clients that you serve. All this to stress that your practice back home is not that different from what you will be doing for the firm that will hire you. Again, stress the similarities, be it area of expertise or industry. Be prepared to be asked why you moved to Canada. Again, have an interesting story to share and highlight that you moved here permanently. If you're a foreign trained lawyer interviewing for OCIs, your interviewers will most probably be familiar with the accreditation process, but they may still ask you where you stand in the process, especially if that is not clear in your application. This is an invitation for you to explain how you will be eligible to article the year after your summer with them. If you have completed your NCA exams or even your bar exams, this is a great opportunity for you to mention that. If it's not obvious from your application, the interviewers will ask you why you're applying to that specific firm. If your answer is based on the area of expertise, then you will want to tie it with either your professional experience back home, or if you're pursuing further studies in Canada, perhaps to a subject matter that really captivated you, that you know, based on your research, that the firm has a busy practice in. This is where you come up with examples to prove the areas of interest that you have listed in your application. Try to prepare many examples and concise ones, because you may be asked the same question by different interviewers in a different way, and you don't want to repeat the same example. If you feel that you're getting the same question many times, maybe it's a good opportunity for you to ask if you're answering their questions. If you do have experience in the area of expertise that the firm is practicing in, the interviewers may ask you, why do you want to go back to being a summer student and perhaps be doing work that at times may be trivial? This is a great opportunity for you to answer that you don't see this as a student position, but as any other legal position. There may be aspects that are very interesting, and there may be aspects that might be trivial. That does not mean that you're not still growing and learning and contributing to the firm. If you don't have experience in the areas of expertise that the firm practices in, then hopefully you have prepared answers that demonstrate why you're interested in those practice areas. And again, it may be because of a course you took during law school or your legal graduate studies, or because of any volunteering opportunities. Well, these are the typical questions that you expect to receive. Don't be surprised if your entire interview revolves around your interests. Be prepared to explain what you do in your free time, what kind of activities you're involved in. You don't have to come up with unique activities or interests. Just be yourself. If the interests that you've listed on your CV are unique, expect to be asked to elaborate. Understanding that the interview only lasts 17 minutes, and at times interviewers may spend more time on small talk, it is important that you strike the balance between trying to guide the conversation, but at the same time allowing you to flow naturally. If you feel like you've taken too much discussing one topic, maybe you want to introduce another one. Don't be intimidated by behavioral questions. Be prepared for questions like, tell us about a challenging moment in your personal or professional career and how you overcame it. Describe a conflict with your colleagues at work and how you resolved it. Be prepared to explain inconsistencies in your application or even bad grades. It's important in the latter situation that you don't try to justify it. When things didn't go your way, just own it. It shows courage and personality. Explain what you learned from it and how you grew stronger. Maturity never comes the easy way. Another question you may receive is to explain your career plans. If you don't see yourself as a partner at the firm 5 or 10 years from today, you don't have to say so. Be authentic and focus on the things that you really want to contribute to the firm and what you want to learn from them. It's an exchange and they know it. Other behavioral questions can include scenarios that you will encounter a lot as a summer or articling student. For example, how do you deal with deadlines? How would you react if a partner came to you with a deadline while you already have a lot on your plate? And again, this is not the moment for you to show that you have superhero powers. Surprisingly, showcasing your humanity will get you to the second round of interviews. Now, because this is going to be a virtual interview, and chances are that your interviewers are experiencing Zoom fatigue, they may not be as engaged. So try to keep them all equally engaged. If you feel that one of them is not asking you as many questions, have a list of questions prepared for each of them to bring them back into the conversation. Perhaps the most important thing that you should take into account for virtual interviews is to have more questions prepared, just in case there's unexpected silence. Hopefully you've done your research and you can ask authentic questions to your interviewers and not things that you can find on the website. Common topics include deals or matters that the lawyers have led. Perhaps a decision has been issued recently and you want to discuss it. Don't start these conversations unless you can actually contribute something interesting. You telling them that you've read the decision, yes, shows interest, but a strong candidate may have something to add to that, or even share how they dealt with a similar situation. Ask them about their interests, how they spend their free time. Ask them how they made the decision to join the firm you're interviewing with. You can ask them about their career trajectory. They may have started with the firm and stayed on, or they may have joined as a lateral hire. Questions like, what do you enjoy most in your legal practice, may be something they hear a lot, so try to be more specific. You may ask about challenges that they faced and how the firm supported them in overcoming them. This may show you want to select the firm that can help you thrive. Hopefully you've done your research and spoken with other lawyers at the firm, so you can introduce that in passing and say, I've spoken with so-and-so and I know that the firm does this, and maybe ask additional questions. OCIs can be stressful, but try to see them as a conversation, not as you fulfilling an obligation to report to someone and persuade them about how unique and strong of a candidate you are. How to make it a conversation? Well, try not to sound rehearsed, but at the same time, don't struggle to find the words to express yourself. Allow the conversation to go wherever it's flowing to, but at the same time, try to make the points that you wanted to make. And finally, don't forget to smile. Good luck with your interviews, and don't forget, if you've already received an invitation, you're a strong candidate. So now it's the time for them to know you a bit better. They won't have the time to know everything about you, but hopefully enough for them to be intrigued to invite you for the in-firm interviews. Good luck, and don't forget to comment if you have any questions.